Yellowdig has positively impacted the engagement that I have seen between students within this course. I am Dr. Jill Jones, and I am a faculty member in the Teacher Education and Learning Sciences Department, and I focus primarily on literacy. So Yellowdig is a tool that allows students to respond to different topics, and it's organized where you set up the topics ahead of time. You can also add additional ones, or you can take some away if you have to make changes throughout the semester, but you have that set for them, and then they are able to go in and create posts related to that topic. What is nice as an instructor then is you can also pull up information based on the topic and see the responses. You can pull up information based on the student and make sure that they have been responding to every topic and they are getting the points that you have awarded for each of those topics, which for me is especially important as I use it as a participation grade as well. They may write out a response and post it. Sometimes they'll do a video response and they'll post that. And I think that's one of the other things that students really appreciate is that they have a variety of different ways to showcase their knowledge that is something that they're comfortable with or, works for their particular schedule that week. Maybe, one time they want to write out a post, another time they want to do a video, or they think of something else and they want to add an additional post. So they'll go back and do that. And they might do a quick video post for that, for example. And so they are awarded points and you're able to make sure that they've met, the minimum number of points, and you can provide feedback to students about that process too. And then you as the instructor are also able to comment on their post. You can provide a video response back to them or use any of these accolades, and they're specific accolades. So the particular tool kind of designates these ahead of time. And then there are all different types of reactions, like in the format of emojis that you can use with the students as well. So one of the reasons that I started using this tool is I was looking for something where students would be able to interact with each other and really try and build community. So I teach in a variety of different formats, both in person and then online in both asynchronous formats and synchronous formats. So really this tool I thought about most for those online courses that I teach, and really thinking about providing students opportunities where they could learn more from each other, interact more with each other, especially for those in the asynchronous format, but also the synchronous format, and be able to share information and resources and really build a deeper knowledge overall than what I had been using with other tools. Of the things that I'm happy to be sharing about is the positive benefit that I have seen with using Yellowdig. I would say that students really appreciate the visuals of this particular format. It looks a lot different than a traditional forum on an LMS, like here we're using Moodle. And it feels like they're able to respond to each other in the ways that they do on traditional social networks like Instagram, like Facebook, and so forth. So they have lots of opportunities to reply in different ways, both in sharing information, typing it out, using different emojis, sharing video responses with each other. They can also link different resources. So if someone's talking about a particular topic and they have a resource related to that topic, they can share that topic as well. So I think the overall format for them is just very familiar to what they do in more of their personal life. And then thinking about the opportunity to engage with others, like this platform is very easy for them to use once they understand that particular process. So I would say I've definitely seen positive impact and really been impressed with what my students are sharing with each other that I don't think would have been possible in other formats that I've used before. I had spoken with some instructors at our conference on faculty excellence last year, and they had presented about Yellowdig and had done some research on using Yellowdig in their course and had seen positive effects. So I had heard a little bit about it, and then Delta was doing workshops around Yellowdig. So I attended that virtual workshop and learned a little bit more, and I thought, I think I can use this. This really seems to align with what I'm looking for. I'll note that I'm one of those people, though, I like to feel really comfortable with the things that I'm introducing to students. So there was a little bit of that nervousness knowing I was getting ready to start the course soon, and I didn't have a lot of time to study up on the tool myself before the implementation. But that's one thing I want to share with others is that I was able to do that and I was able to use it successfully even in that short time, especially with all of the support from Delta that I received at the workshop. There was also follow-up support from that, and I know that I have emailed and corresponded with Delta faculty or Delta folks that have shared and helped through any questions that I had. So I felt really supported in the process with that. And then in addition, Yellowdig, the actual company, they share a lot of support with you too. There are a lot of videos that you can watch, and then you can get on their listserv to learn about more of the features of the tool. Yes, I mean, I think obviously there are going to be some that really appreciate it, and there are going to be some where it may be something that they're not as comfortable with. Certainly, I think with the students that I work with, I have a wide range, both in terms of their age and their backgrounds as well. So some are more tech savvy than others. So I think that, there's some of that preference in there as well. There may be some people that it takes a little while to get used to that if it's not something that they're familiar with. Yeah, so again, I want to note I've highlighted asynchronous, but I've used this in my asynchronous course and then my synchronous course as well, where we meet once weekly throughout the semester. And this happens in the fall and the spring. And I've introduced Yellowdig into that course as well as a way for them to respond to the module content that they are working on for that particular week, because generally the modules go in weekly formats. And I think with this introduction of Yellowdig, one of the nice things is it's provided a little bit more openness. And what I mean by that is I was used to designing specific questions or specific structure in terms of how I wanted students to respond. Especially in a forum or a Padlet and those types of tools that were being used before. And this really is set up by kind of content topics. So you create a topic, and then students get to share what they're thinking about, connections that they have, questions that they have. So it really puts more responsibility on the student, but not in a way that's difficult for them, in a way that you really get to hear more about their particular perspective. And that's something that I've really appreciated. I feel like I understand a little bit more of their thinking through this particular tool, which is important for the synchronous sessions. And I can capitalize on that in the work that we're doing together, as well as the asynchronous. I feel like I have a better understanding of where my students are with their learning based on what they're sharing. Yeah, so one of the things that I do with both asynchronous and synchronous courses, I do have a synchronous session to start off the semester, just so they see me and I get to introduce things related to the course. And so I use this time to also introduce the Yellowdig tool. So I shared a short video. They have, I think it's about a 2 minute and 30-second video that's an overview for students, and that's really helpful. And then I had set up the platform already for our particular courses, so I went ahead and opened that up. I showed them how I had posted, so there's an introduction post that I've done, and I share a little bit more in that post too of what they're going to continue to do. So that's another reminder of what we've talked about in the session. And then I show them about different ways to respond to each other and how they need to kind of look at the structure so that they know where the different topics are and how they're going to be posted. So they get that training, and then I provided them with additional videos that if they wanted to learn a little bit more, or they still, weren't feeling as comfortable, they could go in a little bit more depth. And then I was happy to answer any questions for them, whether that was through email or if they wanted to do a Zoom session and look at the tool together. So, coming back to thinking about how the topics are set up, there is a time frame that is designated, and so that is probably one of the challenges that I have faced. Is just thinking about how that aligns with the timeline of my course, because I start my modules on different days for different courses, and just making sure that, especially on the day that it starts, that students are able to post like within the time frame that gets counted for their particular points. But I have been able to work with the system to make that work. And then again, thinking about those extensions for students that, they're coming back and doing a post because they may have been sick or something else happened, and they weren't able to complete it in the time frame that was initially required. I think the other piece is just not thinking as a challenge as the tool itself, but also just supporting students that, this may be something that they don't prefer as much. So making sure that I'm reaching out to them and that they are creating their posts and responding to other students as well. And that's usually something that, I'll deal with on a kind of one-on-one student basis, and make sure that it's not anything related to the tool, like they're not understanding how to use it. So I can provide that support or provide a video or another resource to help them, especially at the beginning for those people that may be transitioning into this new tool and they don't feel as comfortable or confident with it as well. Yeah, so I think there's some that kind of come from the instructor perspective and then thinking about the students. So, first and foremost, I think I'm proud of myself for trying something that is new and being okay with not understanding every aspect of it before I implemented it with the students, and knowing that, I was doing some of that learning too. And to see that it was successful and it, met the goals that I was looking for with that particular tool. But again, I also knew that I had a lot of support, and so whatever challenges I was going to face, I knew I had people to reach out to help in that area. And then thinking from the student perspective, I mean, something for me was just having opportunities to read through the things that they posted, and I really saw them making a lot more connections to the content that we were talking about in the course, whether it be within the readings, whether it be in the mini lecture that they had seen, other discussion type activity that was going on, and making connections between that and what they were seeing in the elementary classroom. And so for us, that is a huge goal, that they can see those connections and really getting to read that firsthand. That was powerful. And I think the other piece was seeing how often students went on to Yellowdig to respond to each other. So it wasn't just, they created their post, they did some response to other people, because as you respond to other people and in different ways, you get different points for that, and different types of responses earn more points. But that they wanted to go back and loop back around, especially if they were somebody who posted earlier and other people posted later in the week, then they would go back and respond to them as well, even though they had already kind of met what they needed to do for their requirement. Or they saw that somebody mentioned something and they had a connection, they had a question, or they had a resource that related to that. So I want to reemphasize the fact that I think that this is very doable. Even if you're close to creating that course, that you can get that foundational knowledge that you need to know to be able to implement it and to try it out with your students. You may still be doing some more investigating yourself or some more learning as you're going through the process. But I think if you use some of the tools that are provided to understand it better, that it will be user-friendly to you as well, especially for people who use a lot of these more traditional kind of social media sites. One thing that I'd like to share too is I was just recently, again, at the Conference on Faculty Excellence, and there was a panel that was there, and another faculty fellow that I had met before, he stopped me and he said, "I just want to thank you so much. I listened to the technology panel that Delta had put on earlier in the year, and you shared about Yellowdig, and I had done a presentation giving an overview of the tool and how it was being used in my courses." And he said, "I really felt like I should try it out after that." And he said, I'm really very happy with it, and my students enjoy using it. And it's not something that is too much of a heavy lift on me." So with Yellowdig, I was looking to use this as a way to have students share their thinking, share their responses, and interact with each other. Just knowing, again, that some of the tools that we had used before weren't as engaging for students. And I think in implementing Yellowdig and having students learn about this, that I really have seen that positive benefit, and that they seem to appreciate this tool more than other platforms that I've used in the past. So I would definitely recommend looking into this tool more. Again, as someone who implemented this without as much knowledge, I went to the Delta workshop and started that next week, implementing it into the course, and as I was creating it and launching the course. So I would say that there is a lot of support out there. There are other faculty members and instructors that are using the tool that also would be happy to share, in addition to the Delta folks that are happy to provide that support. And then you also have support through Yellowdig, and they can help you get in touch with that support as well too. So I would definitely recommend first maybe even seeing, what does this look like in a course for an instructor that's using it, so you get to see kind of what that interface looks like, and if that's something that you want to use for your particular goals for your students. But I definitely would say this is something that you would be able to learn and you would be able to implement, and that your students would really benefit from.